All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're talking about something that's basically the unsung hero of our digital lives. You know, that silent guardian standing between your private network and, well, all the chaos of the open internet? That's right, we're getting into the world of firewalls.
So, first things first, let's set the scene. I want you to picture a huge company, or maybe a university, or even one of those massive data centers. These places aren't just a bunch of computers. They're more like vast digital fortresses, and every single one has countless doors and windows opening up to the internet.
And that right there is the big problem. Every single machine, every server, every device that's connected to that network, it's like one of those open doors. It's a potential way in for an attack. So how in the world do you defend all of them, all at the same time?
I mean, trying to patch and protect each machine individually, it's a losing battle. It really is. You're dealing with hundreds, maybe thousands of systems, all with different operating systems, and there's this constant stream of new security flaws popping up. It's a nightmare. It just doesn't scale.
And you have to realize what's at stake here. It's huge. We're not just protecting computers. We're protecting the very core of an organization. You could really call it the beating heart of the business. And that heart has to keep running 24/7, no matter what.
So, when you're faced with this impossible job of guarding every single door, you need a smarter solution. And that solution, my friends, is the firewall. It is such an elegant answer to a massive, massive challenge.
See, instead of having 1,000 weak points, a firewall creates one single heavily fortified checkpoint. It becomes the only way in or out. It forces everything, and I mean everything, to pass through one single point of inspection.
Now, this whole approach is built on three really crucial design goals. First, all traffic has to pass through it. No exceptions, no secret backdoors. Second, it acts like a super strict bouncer. It enforces a security policy, and only authorized traffic on the guest list gets through. And third, the firewall itself has to be a fortress, basically immune to attack. It creates this all-or-nothing choke point.
But, not all firewalls are created equal. They've actually evolved a lot over time, getting smarter and way more sophisticated. So let's look at three major types, and you can think of each one as a more intelligent kind of gatekeeper. Okay, first up, we've got the packet filter. Think of this as your basic bouncer at the door. It just checks the ID, the address and port number on every single packet of data against a simple rule list. But here's the catch. It has no memory. Now, a stateful firewall, that's the smart bouncer. It remembers that your computer just sent a request out, so when the reply comes back in, it knows, hey, I'm expecting you, and lets it through. It actually understands the context or the state of the conversation.
Ready to take it to the next level? While a stateful firewall is kind of listening to the conversation, an application gateway goes a huge step further. It acts as a proxy, an intermediary that doesn't just check the address, it actually inspects the content of the data. To put it simply, if the stateful firewall is listening to the conversation, the application gateway is literally reading the mail. Yeah, it's slower, but it's way, way more thorough.
Okay, so we've got the firewall itself, which is awesome. But really advanced security isn't just about the wall. It's about where you put it and how you build your network around it.
And this brings us to a really key concept, the demilitarized zone, or DMZ for short. This is a brilliant strategy. It's a small, isolated network that you stick right between your safe, trusted internal network and the wild, untrusted internet. It's a buffer zone.
Think of it like this. You've got the Wild West. That's the public internet. Then you have your private estate. That's your super secure internal network where all your critical data lives. So in between, you build a visitor center, and that is the DMZ. It's where you put your public-facing stuff, like your website. Visitors can come to the center, no problem, but they absolutely cannot get into the private house.
But, and this is a really important warning, you can never fully trust your DMZ. Because it's exposed to the internet, you have to work under the assumption that any server inside it could get compromised. By its very design, it's a high-risk area, and any traffic coming from it has to be treated as potentially hostile.
So, firewalls sound pretty incredible, right? And they are. But it's time for a little dose of reality. A firewall is an incredibly powerful tool, but it is not a magical solve-all-your-problems security solution. It has some major blind spots.
And there's a perfect quote for this. Don't let the firewall give you a false sense of security. It's absolutely essential, for sure, but thinking it's all you need? That's a really dangerous mistake.
Let's be real about what a firewall can't do.
It can't stop an attack that doesn't pass through it, like, say, someone plugging an infected laptop right into an office port. It's powerless against the malicious insider, like a disgruntled employee. And it can't possibly detect every single new virus when there are millions of them out there.
And this brings us to what might be the single most important takeaway from this whole explainer. A firewall is, without a doubt, the first layer of defense. It is the foundation of your security, but it cannot, and it absolutely should not, be the only layer. Real security is all about building in layers.
So that leaves us with one final thought to chew on. If the firewall is just the beginning, just the essential first step in protecting that digital fortress, then what comes next? What are all those other layers of defense? And that's the critical question, isn't it? Thanks for tuning in.